Okay, I think we're live. Yay! I've got spare monitors, but I haven't hooked them up yet. What I do, I want to make this station. This is a sitting station. I might make a standing station, but I'm thinking of kind of expanding it. I've got 2 extra monitors, but they're small. I can't, I'm blind, so I have small monitors, not so good. This is a 19 or a 21 inch, which is okay. Might want to go a bit bigger. Anyway, I'm rambling. How are you? Summer has hit. Today is the first official day of summer vacation. For those who don't know, I teach video game design. But I also write, and I also design my own games. Yeah, and whatever. I released Rocket Flip a couple years ago, and then it was out there on Google Play for a couple years. But maintaining the app on Google Play is just a pain in the butt, because every week Google has a thing that it changes, and then you have to be in compliance with whatever that change is, So then you have to go back into the project, rebuild it, make sure it's in compliance, submit it. It has to be evaluated. There's like an evaluation period, and then it gets uploaded. And the more frequent you do that, the faster it is. So like if it's the first time you've submitted a project, it could take a couple days for it to be evaluated. If on initial submissions, they're usually a lot quicker. I think they're automated. I don't even think a dev looks at them anymore. But so like if it's your 3rd or 4th, 5th or 500th iteration on whatever, usually it's technically approved within a few minutes to an hour, whatever. Sometimes it can take longer, there's more delays, and you have to test it, whatever not. But the issue is that's one game, and I have to update it every week. So eventually, Google dropped my Play Store account just because I got tired of trying to keep up with it. So if you want Rocket Flip, you'll have to go to lameduckstudios.com and just download the APK file, because I'm not going to reopen the Google Store until it's beneficial. But anyway, again, I'm rambling on that. Other projects going on in this. Actually, I'll try to get this up on here for my secondary monitor. This will be my second monitor for today. This is what my second monitor usually is. Stop playing stuff. There we go. We got that. And I'll just turn the volume on that off. That way I can see chat here when I'm actually working. I have a screen space overlay for chat that pops up when I'm working, but syncing that also takes time, and I would much rather work on my stuff than to connect all the things for live streaming, which is why I don't live stream very often, because I would just much rather do the work. But anyway, other things going on before we get into the nitty-gritty. Let's see. What workspace am I in? I'm in... Oh, interesting. 1 second. Let me pull up... Okay, so been working on Comic Book Wielders of Ether for about a year now. So I wrote the book Guardian's Path of Ascension. That's been out, that published in 2019, and I want to do the comic book, but I don't have time to draw it, and I'm too picky. So hired an artist, Patrick Barrett. He's awesome, and he did the illustration. This is not finished. This is just the rough of what the comic cover is going to look like. But yeah, this kind of gives you an idea. If you think of it as like Dragon Ball Z mixed with Star Wars, there aren't lightsabers, but most of it is energy control and battling aliens and stuff. So, but yeah, so I got the Kickstarter. It is getting ready to drop. So we're not quite there yet, but here it is. And some general artwork that's finished. You know, this is very actiony. So the art style is comic book-esque with, I guess it'd be anime or manga. You know, if you're a manga reader, but mangas typically do a lot of black and white, so characters and such. But yeah, so if you've heard me talk about the story, in general, it's you got these 5 teens who have a connection to this energy, kind of like the Force. It's an energy, they call it ether. But it's actually a multi-dimensional thing, so every dimension has its own energy. So beings who have ether, if they go to a different dimension and there is no ether, then they're just mortal, so like it's whatever. But so there are some multiple multi-dimensional facets to it, but that's much later down the line. There's also sorcery, and there's a bit of a rivalry between sorcerers and wielders. So the wielders are the ones who can kind of control the energy naturally. It's not so much a natural thing, it's more of an internal thing. So they study meditation, they study working on connecting with the energy and using it as part of themselves, whereas the sorcerers cast spells. So this is the demigod Kyra, and a little bit of backstory on that. So the sorcerers, when they cast their spells, they're actually borrowing energy from Kyra, and Kyra is basically granting the spells as like a little wish, you know. So there's a bit of a rivalry there. The sorcerers think the wielders are pompous because, you know, they're too good, and then the wielders tend to think the sorcerers are lazy, and you know, and that by, you know, casting these spells, they're actually just giving their soul to this demigod. So so there's a bit of a rivalry there, but there's also the underlying you know, alien threat that's going to be happening, and of course you have the grounding of the story, the moral backbone. Like Selden here, he all he wants to do is study ether, so he's very adept at physics. He understands the energy, and his dad wants him to go to college and pursue a degree in physics and work at NASA, you know. But he's like, I just want to go study this energy. You know, I want to get a better connection with this energy. So he has this where he doesn't want to disappoint his father, but he, how can he walk the line of both things, you know? So there's that, and some character overviews and stuff. So for the Kickstarter, we have some rewards we're going to do, like the, of course you get the comic book. There's a digital and a written version of it, printed version of it. Some other perks, you'll get the novel with it. You'll get our production notes. You'll get the script that was written for it. So there's like different perks that kind of go into this, and we've been doing this for about a year. So, anywho, I don't want to stay on this too long. I'd like to get the work done. So, anyway, so what I've been doing for the past couple days was working on StarQuest. So I actually started StarQuest. Here it is, up and running. I started this, I think, a summer or 2 summers ago. This is a little RTS game, and if I play it, you can kind of see it working. If you've ever played the game Conquest, so StarQuest is kind of like Conquest. It's a similar premise. So if you ever had Linux or ever played around Linux, one of the games that you could download is Conquest, and it's a fantastic game. It's so fun, but it's so simple. It's just a grid of planets. It's just a 2D grid, and one second. There we go. This will be fun. So StarQuest is, or not StarQuest, but Conquest is just a 2D grid. You know, however many cells you want on here. I'll put a couple. And then in the grid, you have these planets. You know, it could be a planet here, a planet there. This is basically your star chart. And then you don't see anything. You can't. There's no outside of the grid and some basic graphics for that. When it's your turn, of course, it highlights yours, and then you can give some orders to send ships to a different planet, and then depending on how many grid cells there are, it takes a while to get there, and it's turn-based. So, like, the ships do move, technically, right? But not really. There's just a time delay, and then there's an action, and there's a roll of the dice to see what ships win and whatever not. Very simple game, very fun game. It's highly addicting. But I always wanted to make my own sort of variant of it with some additional perks, but I didn't want to go as far as StarCraft. So me and my buddy kicked around some ideas on what we wanted to do and whatnot. So 20 plus years later, I started working on this. So the same kind of idea, except we're in space. You can see that instead of it being just a grid, we actually have the planets rolling. You got let me go back and pilot. So you can jump between your docked view and your overview. And by the way, if you hear music in the background, it's because my wife is playing Beat Saber. So anyway, we had the layout, and it's turn-based. You make your decisions, and then when you send ships or whatever, you actually see them. They manifest, and they go to wherever. And there's some other things in here as well. I wanted to have mining, and I wanted to have a construction system. So, like when I in Conquest, each planet made a certain number of ships per turn. That was your day per day. And however many they produce is kind of at random. But I wanted to have an RTS sort of element to this. So I set up some construction bays and whatever not, so starports and whatever. And these are very simple for right now. It's like a proof of concept. So, and I love playing StarCraft. I love Command and Conquer, and I really enjoyed Conquest. So this is kind of like a marry of those different things. Now, different planets have different resources, and each planet produces a certain number of resources per day. So, let's grab, what planet is this? We'll just drop this into planets. So, let's look at the resource tree. So you can see the default resources. This planet has a default of 3 resources, and here they are. So it has hydrogen, iron, and petroleum, and it has a default amount. And then there is a production per day. So this is, so what's this one? So resources per day. And you can see what it produces and whatnot. So, and each one produces its own type of resources, but also its own rate of resources. And certain planets based on size, orbit, and a bunch of other things are kind of calculated into that. So you have that bit of randomness, but you have to go out and find planets, you have to find asteroids and mine stuff. And then you can build ships and you can send them out. As far as the battle of the ships, I don't know what I'm going to do with that just yet. I like the visual. I think I'm going to have them, sort of do like encounters and maneuvers and whatnot. I don't want it to be entirely RNG driven. I really hate RNG systems. I feel like I'm being cheated most of the time, especially when you consider that random is not random in a computer, right? You can't truly have random. You have some generators that are pretty relatively random. They're close in some respects, but not really. Like if you keep running the same seed over and over again, you'll get very close to the same results. So, so I like the idea that there is some AI component where the ships are finding a target and maneuvering around that target and trying to do whatever, and they do their maneuvers based on upgrades, and they have different armor and they have different weapons and whatever not. So I kind of like that aspect of it. So yeah, but anyway, you'll grab your planet, and you can jump to the next planet, of course, and you can see what planet you're on, and what player, and whatnot. So this one is currently controlled by this player, that's this player, and so on. Now I only have 4 planets and 4 players, so it's pretty, I guess, nonchalant, And then, of course, they're given a planet at random, so player 1 is not necessarily on planet 1, you know what I mean? So those do get generated at random. So let's see, here's planet 1, or planet 0, and currently it is owned by me, default player. That seems to be correct. Let's see who owns number 2. I need some water. Hi, cat. Alright, so this one... actually, I can probably just check the owner. We'll do owned. So yes, it is owned. Let's see the player. Okay. Let's see, planet. Okay, so in my player's owned planet list, I'll just do that as owned. Player owns planet 3, so player 1 owns planet 0. AI player 1 has, or player 0 owns planet 1, and so on. So those are randomly distributed, and you kind of get to see those. Let's try doing some stuff. Oh, I'll just deselect that so that chart's not there. Okay. So what I'm working on today is I'll send some ships, so just so you can see. So let's see. I need a construction bay and a starport, and there's no build time yet. It's just they just kind of go, and these menus would be a lot cleaner. Right now it's just proof of concept. And you can see the resource is just updated. So a full day has a full revolution around the sun, basically. I don't know if I do it per day, or if I do it per revolution. How did I calculate per day? Yeah, so it should just be a full revolution of the planet, not a full turn around the sun, because that would be a year. Yep, yeah, it's just a full. You can't quite see it turning, but this is rolling. And you can see there's the next day, and then once it does a full revolution, you'll see it pop up again. There it goes. So yeah, it's the planet's revolution, not orbit around the sun, because that would be a year. Anyway, so I made those. So now I can make ships, and I'll just make an attacker, and I'll make a cargo ship. So I'm going to send my ships over to this planet here. So I'm going to grab that. Let's send ships. And I am from... By the way, let me know if you prefer, because I mean, this is semi-translucent, but I can't always see. My eyes are just awful. So I'm from Planet 0, and I'm going to send to Planet 2. I have 3 attackers, and I'm going to send... I actually don't need to send a whole bunch, because the other guy probably hasn't made any, but I'll send a couple attackers here. Boom. And... bam. You can see there are the ships. They're going. And I should now own this planet. So if I get my player... pretty sure I'm player 0. Maybe not. I might not have updated that yet. Well, let's jump over to that planet, shall we? Okay, so it still says it's owned by the AI player. Let's see if I can build anything here. Can I build something? Nope, because they don't own it. So I haven't set that up. Okay, so something else for me to work on today. But you get to see the ships kind of going. Let me jump back to my planet, since I'm pretty sure I was at Planet 0. And that's a thing that kind of got broken. Like sometimes I can't move my camera. I gotta refresh it. Okay, so here's that, and then I can do a harvester. Let me send a harvester to... I still have Planet 2 in my list here. Let's refresh my list just in case. Yeah, I'll send a harvester there. That's another thing that doesn't update right away. I have to refresh this list. I need to send a call to refresh that. Anyway, I'll send out a harvester. You can see that I lost whatever ships I sent out. But I'll send the harvester, and you can see there's the big old harvester, and it's going to go out, and it doesn't know what to do once it gets there, so it's just going to freak out. But it's there, because that's natural, right? And you can set up trade routes. So like if I want to send resources, so sending resources does work. I have to own the planet. But you can set up a trade route. You can do it as a round trip. So as it goes out, so if you own the planet and you send resources to it, that ship will dock with that planet, and then it'll also acquire the resources. But if you have it set to round trip, it'll just drop off the resources and go back to the home planet. So that's kind of useful. Especially like if you're mining asteroids, it'll go out to the asteroid and come back. I don't have that set up, but that's kind of like the plan. But yeah, so that's kind of like the rough intro of this game. So what I've been working on the past couple days, like I started this a couple summers ago, and I got to about here-ish. And then I've added a few things off and on. One of the issues I've had is I built it in Unreal 5.2, a couple summers back, and of course there's been Unreal 5.5 is out. Unreal 5.2 doesn't build nicely. This is the new computer. I redid this machine, and I've been trying to get 5.2 to build on this for months, and 5.2 just won't build on it. I've downloaded every, or I've installed every .NET that there is. It says, oh, this .NET is missing, or that .NET is missing, or this isn't compatible, or that. And I'm like, whatever. So I eventually just gave up on getting 5.2 on this machine, and decided to convert, but converting it was a pain because there's a lot of stuff that was changed between 5.2 and 5.4. So that's what I did yesterday. I spent a good chunk of the day, or a good chunk of the evening, testing the build and trying to fix some of those things, and then I did that this morning as well. And then the thing that I did on Saturday was I set up the player turn. So this was here, but it didn't switch to the camera. So if I end my turn, now I'm in player 1's turn. And you can see if I grab player and go to turn. So player 0 is not my turn. Player 1, it is player 1's turn. And if I end the turn, that is no longer there. It's now the AI, and the AI gets to make a turn. There is a turn timer, and the AI should, once this counts down, end its turn, but that hasn't happened yet. The reason this isn't happening is I need this to work over network, and I'm not sure how I want the AI to fire that, because it's going to be a blueprint call, but a lot of it is written in C++, so I need to figure out the way I'm going to have the AI hit that button, right? Because I want it so that you can sit in the camera of the AI and watch its decision making. You can watch its live decision making, which means it would have to interact with the menu buttons, okay? But for it to interact with the menu buttons, I have to have it... the menus are all built in Blueprint, so I have to have it interact with those somehow. So it's just tying those systems together, and I just haven't done it yet. So now I can end the turn. And you can see the camera does change. If I'm in player 0... this is player 0's view of things. Alright, here I am. If I go to end turn, I'm in player 1's view of things. But every now and again, the camera gets screwed up, and if I'm in player 0, I actually can't do anything with my camera. I can't move my camera. And I can't switch my view. And really, none of these menus work. Oh, that one does. That works. This one does not appear to do anything. Of course, I can't change my camera, and I can't turn it. So I got to figure out what's going on with that. So that's sort of the goal for today. So that was a bit of a startup and all that good stuff. But yeah, I'm going to jump into the game here, and I will hit... Did I make any changes? I did not make any changes. So I'll hit stop. And I will close the Solution Explorer, and I can probably close this guy as well. So I finally got it building. So this is what you were seeing is pretty much the first time this has built on this machine and ran in version 5.4. So, hooray! I need to set up the GitHub repo, or the new branch. I guess I'll do that in a bit. Alright. So, I'm losing the ability to control the camera when I change players. So why would that happen? Let's see here. Let me jump over to the player controller. Where are you? This is not my stuff. Enema's bite is not mine. This is not mine. I'm not sure what that is. Probably not mine though. Enema's bite. That was the thing that I had to fix. So in 5.2, I was checking this enum, and I wanted to do a little bit of math on it. Basically get the raw number of this enum, and then subtract 1 from it, just to keep my count. You know. In 5.2, these were all t enums as bytes, and there was a call on here, where to convert it to an integer, there was a .2 integer value on this, and you can but anyway, so it said I couldn't use it anymore, so I had to go. That was deprecated, so I had to go back and just do a standard cast to make these. I don't know why I didn't cast them before. You can see up here I did cast this one. But I chose not to cast these, and I don't know why I chose not to cast these. There might have been a restriction for why I couldn't. Like here on .resource type, this works just fine, but the other one wasn't working. So whatever, I had to go ahead and fix that. And you'll see some notes here. Anyway, I'm off track. Camera, where is player controller? I guess I'll have to go back to Solution Explorer. Player controller system. Where is my player controller? Is my H and that. And I haven't built the AI controller. I don't know if I'm going to need to build an AI controller, because I want the player to dock, but I don't want necessarily the player to possess. So I don't know. Okay. Okay. One of the downsides of jumping into a project after so long is they're like, what the heck did I write? Why did I do it this way? What was my thought process? Because I've been teaching Unity for the past couple years, but I prefer Unreal. But the naming convention in Unity is everything that is a variable is camel case, and anything that's an object, a class, or whatever, or a method function call would be in Pascal case. In Unreal, pretty much everything is in Pascal case. So that's a bit weird. So if my students come in and they look at this and go, wait, is that a variable or a function? Like, you know, there's not a good way of knowing. Alright. So snap to planets. Yeah, that would go there. Sorry for me being silent. I'm just kind of going through and reading to get my bearings on things that are happening. This is the line trace whenever I click to find an object. I don't think this has anything to do with my camera issue. I'm just kind of like skimming through it. I'm also using the old input system. I haven't moved to the new input system for this. I don't know if I should. I might have to, because they're gonna remove the old input system's gonna go away. So it might behoove me to change it up, but that's gonna require me to make some other decisions about how I'm implementing this. So I'll keep that for later. Checking keys. So I am checking the keys on a tick. I guess a listener would be better, but listeners technically operate on tick, so I don't know. Alright, so I'm using other trace. I didn't leave myself a note by why I was using this one versus that one. Find object by trace. What's my big difference here? For this one, I'm grabbing viewport sizes. Whereas this one, I'm not really caring about the viewport. I'll have to go run it to see what the difference is. I don't remember what the error was, and I didn't leave myself a note. Basically what I think I did is I had this one running, and I didn't want to destroy it. And I wanted to have quick access to it, so I just made another version of it. So, because everything else I think is the same, yeah. So what I think is happening is I'll have to throw a breakpoint in here to double check. But I think what's happening is there's a reference to the player, which gets loaded on begin play. We cast the player, and we get his pawn. And there are some checks just to make sure that we possess the player. And then when the turn is ended, possession is changed. That happens on the where are out there. So on the game mode. So on update turn, update turn gets called. We end the turn on the player. We check the turn index, and then we begin the new turn. And then if it's a local multiplayer game, which means we're in the same session on the same device, it's going to go and check if it's an AI player and if it's that player's turn, because the turn gets set here. And then we possess the active player in the list that meets the criteria. So that seems to work. I can possess that player. But some things don't happen. Like, I don't immediately jump to that player's view. Sometimes I do, but I don't have control. I'm not sure why I don't have control. It might behoove me to make a new function that does this on the player controller, but also jumps to that player's docked view, like intentionally. I don't need this one. I was tired when I wrote this, and I left myself a note, which was whether or not I should use a break here or use a return. The problem is, and my logic was correct, if I return out of this, it's going to exit the function. But I just want to end the loop, so break was correct. Okay, so possession happens, but I'm not updating the reference that the player controller has. I think that's what the issue is. So now comes the question of how do I want to implement that, if that's the case. I should test to see if that is the case. I can test it using a debugger, or I can test it by trying to set the variable on it. let's test with debugger first. I'm pretty sure that's the case, but I will go to player controller, and I'll just call here. I've got Jer Bear next to me. She is a big old cat. Big old cat. Hi, Jer Bear. I don't like to wake her up and give her attention because she will want it all. But I will show her off. Come here, Jer Bear. Come on. Since you're here, you get to be in view. Hi, Jer Bear. So Jer Bear is Jericho, and we call her Jer Bear because she's a big old snuggly teddy bear. Hi. You be mama to everybody. You be mama to everybody. You smell like oil. I'm sleeping out of the car. Ugh. My hands are oily. Ugh. So one of the things I like about cats is you pet them and you don't get that gross wet dog smell. Except this cat. This cat has a... He's a dirty kitty. Okay, so I'm going to fire this. It's probably going to lock the moment we take off, but players and planets and stuff. Okay, breakpoint fired. At this point, the player is player C_1. Interesting that it gets player... I wonder why I get player 1 and not player 0. That's a peculiar thing, right? But okay. I'm for some reason getting player 1. Let's unbreak the breakpoint. I'll hit continue. Now it says it's player 0's turn. Let me check player 0. And turn. So it is player 0's turn. Let's get the player controller. SQ player controller. I can't see its pawn. And I don't have the player exposed to blueprint, so I can't see it here. That would be good, though, to have that exposed. But it's whatever. So I'm going to go ahead and end my turn. I'm still able to control my camera. Let me check on here. Let's fire a breakpoint. So I'm still in player 1, which is what we already know that because I'm in the camera. So we'll continue. Oops. Cycle through. Now I am in player 2, or player 0, is my guess. And we'll fire the breakpoint here. So This call is happening, but of course it is still containing player 1. And the instructions are for it to, you know, so I believe that's the case. Let's exit. I'm going to go into the H file here. I could have sworn the player was exposed to Blueprint. Player controller.h, right? I see planet. Where's player? Oh. It is private and it is not U property. Why is it not exposed? I'm going to move you. I feel like there was an error. It was upset that this was here. I'm going to put this under my references list here. We'll see if this throws me an error. But I need to change this. Now, should I do a getter or setter? You know, whatever. I think best practice is to create a get set or create a function that runs it. The reason I didn't do that here is the player controller already has its own possess function. So if I were to write a function for this, it would really just be calling its own function to do the thing, but it also needs to do that to the player and update that player variable. So since I have more than one thing, I think I'll just create a U function here. These are under protected. I'm going to make another public section. Let's do this as a U function. I don't think I needed to expose to Blueprint, but just in case, let's do this as we'll do Blueprint callable. And let's make this. I don't need to return, so it'll be a void. And we'll call this, what's a good name for it? Swap player, change player. Change controlled player, and I need this to take in an ASQ player reference. The general convention is the macro. You're tabbed under the macro because this macro only controls one element, but IntelliSense wants these to be on the same level. It bothers me. And Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure I'm better off doing this as a pointer reference. Boom, 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 boom. Is it raining outside? Sounds like it might be raining. Yeah, I'm going to be better off as a pointer. Or is that player controller? And let's implement this. Oh, right. Create a definition. I am picky about where things go. Hey, how's it going? Sorry if I didn't see you. Let's see. I guess hit the like, yeah. So is that what 8? So I guess AP just popped in. I'm really bad at that. I'm really bad at keeping up with chat. It needs to be like right here so I can see it. You know, I don't like this being before begin play, so I'm gonna just move it down. It doesn't really matter. The order of operations is fine. You can write functions or methods in any order. It doesn't matter. I generally like having tick last, so I think I will do this here. Change player, and then the only thing I really want to do in here is validation check, make sure the player is not null, and so I'll say if player is not null, and I don't remember if Unreal uses small null or big null. Uses null pointer. Then I want to call possess. A couple things that need to happen first, though. First, make sure it's not null, and then the player reference needs to be equal to player. And then I will put big player in here. It doesn't really matter, it's just I'm passing a hand. But I want to make sure that the player gets loaded into this variable, and this variable is getting checked. And then player, let's see what I've got for the camera. Let's go to player. I should just be able to dock at home planet. Could call snap to object, but I don't know if I'm using that one. So let's add planet list. Yes, remove planet from planet list. Set home planet should be set. Set world view. Object. Let's see. Heating up some frozen pizza rolls for breakfast, so I figured to pass the time by chatting. Yeah, that's pretty fair. I haven't had pizza rolls in forever. They are delicious. Although I think I prefer bagel bites. Yeah, we're getting closer to 500,000 views, one view at a time. Now, if those would translate to subscribers, that'd be fantastic. Let's see. So I think snap to object will be good, and then I should just be able to call it to home planet, so yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the player controller, not the H file. Okay. What am I doing? Snap to object? Snap to object. And then I want to snap to the player's home planet. So player home planet. Okay. So I should be able to call this on where is my game mode? There it is. And instead of calling get world, get player controller, I need to cast this player controller as the specified one and then call that function. So let me take that down. Okay, we'll do we'll do if, and then we'll do ASQ player controller. That's spelled right. ASQ player controller, that looks correct. Gotta include it. That's gonna be in StarQuest system. SQ player controller.h. Where was I? All right. Oh yeah, that was that last summer before. That was a pretty fun one. I liked, you know, replicating little pieces of Resident Evil. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Glad you enjoyed that one. I haven't been doing a whole lot of videos this year. I've been trying to get the comic book done, but yeah. Alright, so we're going to get the player controller, and I want to make this one player. And let's do, we'll say cast, and this is going to be a very long one, but I'm just going to go ahead and just steal this. So I'll do the get world, player controller. You know what? I tell my kids don't be copy pasters, so I won't do that. So I'll do get world. And then we're going to do get first player controller. Oh, no, I'm doing that wrong. I need to cast this as an ASQ player controller. And the thing that I'm casting is this. Let's see. Let's make this a pointer. Okay, so if this cast is successful, we will then call player controller, change controlled player, and then we'll pass in the active player list I. Okay. Let's see. Recently started working on a remote job with tourism advertising. I learned to apply my programming experience to the remote job. Well, that's pretty cool. So how did you let's see, hold on a second. So are you a programmer for the company, or did it just benefit you to have programming skills? Like, was that like a secondary benefit? Okay, I think that's good. I'm going to save that, and let's run it. Alright, I got an error, so I'll go check that. By the way, this is a neat little thing. So you're allowed to create temporary variables or local variables inside the if statement and pass through. So this is not a comparison, this is an assignment. So basically, if this cast is successful and this object is not null, is what it'll amount to, then I can use it. It's a single step for what is usually a two-step operation. Anyway, I gotta see what that error is. What error do I have here? Let me hide those. Okay. Member variable declaration player cannot be defined as ASQ player controller, as it is already defined as player controller. Okay, so the remote job is secondary. Okay, but you've been programming for a while then. So what is it yelling at me for? It says member variable declaration player cannot be defined in ASQ player controller, as it is already defined in scope A player controller. Oh, okay. There's an ambiguous call. So inside the A player controller is a variable called player. Let's go ahead and jump at this. I see. But wait, why was I allowed to do it here? No matter. I will comment that out. I will uncomment this one. Like, okay. You do you, Unreal. I'm not going to fix a secondary error. I just want to see if that's going to fire again. Okay. One failed. The function parameter player cannot be defined in change player controller, or change controlled player, as it is already defined in the in scope A player controller. Shadowing was not allowed. That is weird that it's getting mad at creating a local instance of a variable, but I wonder if there's a global scope of this inside of the in the parent class. I know that player exists in the parent class, but does lowercase player exist in the parent class? I can call it whatever I want, but the fact that I'm getting a naming conflict on that bothers me. I'll call this as player Sure, I'll just leave it at that. I don't like that name, but we'll just go with it. I want to see if the function works. But I have to update that on this one as well. That's annoying. Okay, hold on. I'm just seeing if it contradicted itself. Are there any other moments where I did a local? I've done it in other classes, but not in this class. Yeah, it looks like that's just the only one. Okay, okay, whatever. I could put like an underscore in front of it or something, you know, just to, but whatever. I'll just do player 2. And then player 2. Now I want some pizza rolls. Pizza rolls are so bad for you. Like, every time I eat them, like, the first one is, like, amazing. Second one, it's diminishing returns every time. You're like, good, good. After about 4 or 5, I'm like, can't. It's just so much grease. And don't get me wrong, they're still delicious. Just less delicious over subsequent bites. Let's do this. Okay. Now it's dropped me in player 0's turn. So if it's player 0's turn, I should be at player 0. Where is player 0? In theory. Let me go ahead and hit end turn. And it changed the turn so now nothing is happening. Huh. Still have control over my camera. Player. Turn. So player 0, end turn, that works. And those are working. Okay. So let's jump over here. Let's see if this is failing. Alright, so we've got that. Which one is here? 0. I probably should have stepped to here. Let's do that. Let's take away the break, and we'll start our evaluation at this point, just so I don't have to step through the loop the whole time. And then we'll hit continue. Okay. Did this succeed? Oops. Let me step back out. Okay, let's go into the world. Step up. Okay, so this does go into here. So we are calling change player. So let's step into that. And then it broke, and then it dropped to here. So it looked like that got called. So why then? So continue. Okay. Bizarre. Let's go back to the player controller and we'll check here. Why is it throw 2? Oh, because I had it highlighted. Okay. That I don't need. Let's end the turn. This breakpoint should happen. Huh. Yeah, it should be stopping here. Alright, we'll break. That breakpoint flags. I mean, we're here, so it has to be in the operation. But it doesn't run that. Maybe I missed something here on one brace. 1, 2, 3. It thinks I'm still in that if statement. That's why. Count your parentheses, guys. This start should have a closer. Huh. Weird. One, 2. This one terminates early, so I can skip that one. Okay, so now I'm not sure. That was weird. Hi, cat. I feel like I'm running in circles. I need some pizza rolls. I have been inspired. I can write to the terminal when I'm here and force a log. The only thing I think of is the cast is failing, but then it wouldn't enter here. All right, well let's do this. Shouldn't be necessary, but whatevs. Where is my U log? Let's go to player controller. I'll grab it from there. UE log temp warning text and then whatever output. Is it log temp? I gotta get better at memorizing. Log temp no underscore warning. I could have it report as error, but it's fine. And then text. Do I semicolon this macro? I should, I think. Yes. So that's the equivalent of if you're in Unity and you want to do a console write line, that's, or no, output to the console is the same thing, console.log or whatever it is. Or debug.log. Okay. It doesn't tell me that this is null. Actually, it doesn't tell me anything. Continue worked. Let's go to output log. Okay, we'll just kind of keep this here. And I will dock and layout. Intern. Back here. I'm going to skip over. So this should be the next thing that's running. It actually skipped over this process. What is the value of I? I is currently 0. So on that, I0 is player 0. I1 is player 1, so on and so forth. That's being read, but this is not being called to. I don't see that being written, unless unless it's buried, but I don't think there's 2 of these. I see it and it succeeded. is that failing? That's weird. Like, I should see that. Yeah, I don't know why that's not rolling. My guess is the cast is failing. Alright, so let's rewrite this. I have to assume that cast is failing. So instead of doing this in a single call, as I was hoping to do, or a single action, I'll do it here, and I'll just semicolon at the end. So I'll define that, and then as long as this is not a null pointer, then we can do this. And we'll throw here. Why do you keep popping open? That should be flagging. We'll throw it here. But since this is not flagging here, that has to be coming as a null pointer. I don't want to step through the whole thing. steps over. It entered. It entered and dropped it here, but I can't. Why is it skipping this function? Let's see, as I'm loading that list, they are being placed in as the... Let's see. Now my list is player pointers, right? Yeah, it's an array of player pointers, and I'm able to load the list, so I know that works. Is that not getting called? What am I missing? What am I not seeing? Player is currently player 1. Nothing being received from player 2. Let's go to spawn players. mean, that... I wonder why that gives me the first player. Technically, that's the second player. Player 1. On the spawn of that. I don't know why that's there. Game instance, game instance stuff. That works just fine. Yeah, I have no idea. I don't know why that is skipping that function. And technically, the macro, the output log does not happen either. At least I don't think it is. We'll continue. Output log. I don't see that there. Yeah, because that didn't go. That thing didn't go. I think the cat has the right idea. It's nap time. Man, I don't know why that won't fire. If it was an incompatible type, it should just break and say I can't do that. I don't think it is. I was thinking, well, maybe what I'm passing in as the player is a non-pointer variable. So it's going, you can't do anything with it, but it's not yelling at me for it. But I'm pretty sure I'm storing them as pointers. ASQ player, pointer to player. What if I... Yeah, so if I look, it is an array of pointers. ASCII player, yeah. Let me try calling any other function for that. What's a function I can call on here? That would be bad. Yeah, I don't know what other function to call. I don't know why I can't call this. Let me go to here. It doesn't matter because this doesn't fire anyway. Let me call I have to pass in some arbitrary value. So I'll call move right and I'll pass in an arbitrary float. its protection level is different. I guess I could change the protection level on that as a temp. Well, something broke. So like I don't know. Spending 4 hours on a error that makes no sense doesn't seem like a good use of my time. Alright, so this fires. We skip down. It completely skips the check. It doesn't even tell me if it evaluates the true or false. You know what? I'm gonna go here. And it skipped that as well. Okay, so if I skip over, it should go to the next check. And then if I skip over, since that one failed, it makes sense. Fail makes sense. Continue. Okay. Let me step down to the next one. It's completely skipping this. Why? I have no idea. It's this kind of stuff that makes me want to do something else with my life. Like, I like puzzles, but something's off. Alright, let me go unbreak my code before I continue. This made no difference. I didn't think it would, but this needs to go back to where it was, and this needs to come back. Expected a declaration of independence. I'm not sure why IntelliSense is having a freak out. That's bizarre. But that's IntelliSense. It's usually busted. We'll go ahead and remove that. Log temp. We don't need that one on that. Okay. What if I make this a non-pointer reference? Cass gets upset. Yeah, so those are all pointer references. And this doesn't fire anyway. I can make it a non-temporary. For those who are like in the camp of never nesting, I've nested in. This is a 5th nest in. I know somebody's like turning in their grave over that. That function should be callable. So what I'm going to do is, I feel like I'm chasing a ghost. I'm going to make this a non-local. That way I can chase it. It's not even showing up in my local list when I debug, which makes no sense to me, but it's okay. Let's make this... I should be able to anyway. ASQ player controller. We'll call this player controller. And we'll jump over here, and instead of temping this out, I will just do this. And I won't even do this here. I will store a reference of it long before we get here. I'll do that way the heckadoodle up here in the begin play event. Oh, why are you angry? What are you talking about? I am completely allowed to create a... oh, I didn't. You're right. I take that back. Because it's a class, I either have to include its parent folder, or I can forward declare it, which means I basically just write class here, and it'll go, okay, I'll accept this for now, but then on the implementation file I have to actually get the full object, which I did. So will you go away? Okay. So over here, and I'll do the next step. Actually, I'll step up. Hey, we actually have a check. Comes up null. What? Oh, it's an interesting distinction. The Let's see. We're here. Does it step in? Nope, it skipped. So this does not return as a null pointer, it returns as a null object. Okay. Well, that puts a finer point on the mystery, but why come up as a null object and not a null pointer if the cast returns a pointer, right? Okay. That came up null. The only thing I can think of is the player controller that it's grabbing is the default player controller and not the SQ player controller, but it has to be the SQ player controller. Let's go take a look. We'll continue. Default game mode is ASQ game mode. Okay, let's open up the I need to have like a little wheel above my head. Hold up, wait a minute. I know where to look. We've got a maps here, and we will open up the space map, and let's get the world settings. World settings. It is the SQ game mode blueprint. Okay, so that's the one that's being loaded, so I can check the blueprint itself. SQ game mode blueprint. Alright, what do we got in here? That's the spectator class. No default pawn class because we generate on the fly. The player controller that is being provided is this one. But it should be of type this, because it's a derived blueprint. And in the game, that's the only one that's alive, I'm pretty sure. Let's open up the player controller. There's nothing special on here, right? And these don't get populated until after the game runs. Okay. Maps. The default player controller and the main menu is the main menu player controller. Now, the main menu player controller is that derived from where are we at here? Blueprint systems. That's weird. Where is the main menu player controller? Is it in content? Blueprints? So this is just a standard player controller. Main menu pawn is not in, that should be the default pawn. Main menu game mode. Main menu pawn. Okay. Right now I'm in the main menu. Main menu controller is there. Are there any other player controllers? Player controller. Right. So I only have one that's loaded. So far so good. And when I jump into the game, I should only have one that's loaded, and it's the SQ player controller BP, which should be of type SQ player controller. Right, the parent type. I mean, really I can hover over and check, but class settings. It should be the SQ player controller. So that all looks correct. So why would the cast fail? Go back. You should be able to see it here, right? It's derived from the parent class as the StarQuest SQ player controller. Yeah, I have no idea. Maybe get first player controller. But there are no others in the game, so there's nothing else to grab. And I was able to grab it and use possess. So yeah, I'm able to get the game instance just fine. Instead of getting world, let's do get player controller. So I can't do a standard get player controller, that doesn't work. Let's go back to, I guess I'll do get world and do standard get player controller. We don't have a standard get player controller. I can grab the first local. Well, that's what I was getting earlier. Get first local player controller. Let me grab the first player controller, non-local. Which sucks because this is going to be network, so local is going to be better, but I need to see if this works. So we will stop and then run. And I'm going to throw a breakpoint there. Off. Currently it's null. Take the next step. And it's going to go through all that stuff. We'll come up, go to the next step. I should have just skipped over. Okay. Game instance is populated, right? None, no. But the player controller is a null object. Maybe I should have followed the process to see what it grabbed. Because it can't be grabbing. Okay. Autos. Player controller is sitting at null. That's weird. Alright, let's continue. So we're going to the world. Okay, getting the level, get level. Get typed outer class. It's weird that there's an A player controller. I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, this is the parent class. This is the stuff that I care about, though. None of this loads because a lot of this comes out dead. Okay, first player controller. Still empty. Well, whatever it found did not match the correct type. But why? I gotta move for a second. Be back in a minute. more search. Here's a private road for my food.
You can't buy like a little bag. Like, you have to buy like a gigantic fucking. You just saw them. There is frozen pizza in there. Do you want pizza, but you don't want pizza?
I want something what it is. And I don't want McDonald's.
I don't. I mean, eating it are probably shitty. There was a lot of calories for it to eat today.
I don't mind burning through the calories that I got, but
And I'm going to the gym. That'll be another 400-ish.
Alright.
Train myself. I need to keep ripping. So we're going to get water.
alright, I'm gonna go back to work. I am back, I think. Off the top of my head, I don't have anything else to order. Okay. So I am back, sort of. I'm gonna.
Oh, wow. God, I hate fucking hitting that bar.
Yeah, but you didn't give her snacks.
I will pet you. You're not getting any more snacks.
I do that all the time. It annoys me. Okay. I am technically back. Yay. Well, that's cool. I've never actually looked at this thing. What am I doing here? Alright, so I'm gonna give it another shot with that. Why does that keep popping up? And I will flag here again. Yeah, so that ended up being null. And I tried from Get World, first player controller. Now I was reading that get first local player from controller returns the player object, not the controller. And that this would be better, but that did not work, but I already tried that anyway. The other one is try getting it from U gameplay statics. Is it framework or game framework? Might be under world. Where is it at? I'm just gonna look it up. Real. It is under where? Kismet. Gameplay statics. And instead of doing this, statics. I believe it is that. I'm always waiting for it to pop up, you know, and it never does. Okay. Skip over. It still came back null. Unless it doesn't exist yet on begin play. It should. All those things should be generated long before begin play gets called. So that doesn't work. I kind of expected that one to work. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do. We'll continue, I guess. The player controller actually has something in it. That's interesting. Now it's populated. It should have been populated after that moment. Like after it stepped out of this, it should have been populated. But okay. I'm not going to complain. I will just investigate. Okay, so the next thing it should do is step into this function. It should be the player 1. Yeah, and then return to player 1. So we will continue. Continue. And then end turn. Continue. So let's not flag here, and let's not flag at the other, because the call is happening now, so we can continue. Okay, that looks like it's running correctly. Yeah. And then AI, I don't have it set to jump for AI, but player 0. Let's see player 0's turn. Or just player and then turn. Oh, that was world settings. Let's take that out of world settings. Correct turn being shown. Player 1, correct turn being shown, and I'm inside and I can control. So that problem is correct. I fixed it with that. Cool. Now I'm going to go back and investigate maybe it was working with local player and I just wasn't letting it execute far enough. So let's stop this. I'm going to go back to here. Okay, so this one worked. I'm going to run this one and just try it. Excusez-moi. That works. I can be here. I can be here. This doesn't work for some reason. But the other camera works. Interesting. And I am running here. Player controller is the SQ player controller. So doing the get world returned, that worked. Let's stop play. And definition of insanity for my own edification. Jerry's laying there like this. Had to make sure she was still breathing. And that one fires no. Okay. So get local player from controller does not work for this. But that's fine in this particular instance because on the networked version of it, I don't have to possess, whatever. I can just handle that differently. The way I'm handling it on the local side of it is, since it's on the same device, I'm only creating one player controller. I don't have individual player controllers. I guess I could, but I think that's more of a pain to manage. So, okay. So we'll stop that. Now comes, do I want this to be a variable that is stored, or do I want it to be a local? I only need it in this temporary setting. So technically it takes more time for me to cast. And players are going to be swapping turns, and every time they swap a turn, they have to run that. So it is faster for me to store it and just call it later. Technically, that is faster. But I don't need it all the time. Like almost everything else I need to be there. I don't need this to hang out. Now, let me test this and see if the result is exactly the same. Oh, I don't need to throw the flag here. That works. I can't go into worldview. And I can't zoom. I think I can zoom. Oh, I can't zoom on this part either. So there's that, and I can jump. Cool. I can jump. Cool. Then if I end my turn, it's here. Can I jump? Yes. But if I end my turn, it should go back to the home planet of whoever. So this should be my home planet, yeah. Now if I end turn, I'm on planet 2, and I should say owned, because that got updated. Okay. But this says planet 2, and planet 2 is not changing. So this is not changing. But if I am in player 1, that changes. So that's just the blueprint side of things not being updated. I'll have to go find that. Alright. We'll stop that. I think I will go back to doing a local version of it. I'm trying to come up with a good argument outside of it being faster. I mean, faster usually is a better reason. So here, when I did the get first player controller, this is the one that I used. So it just so happened to be that when I was doing this one, I happened to grab this one by mistake. And I just didn't realize I was grabbing the wrong one. um, so is it better to store the variable long term, use up a little bit of memory, or should I generate a temporary variable in the moment and then free the memory? Because I no longer need that memory. I don't think I'm going to be doing any more reference calls to it. Like if I need to, it's like, eh. Okay. Which function is that? That is update turn, I believe. And I'm not using gameplay statics for pretty much anything else. So what does the include? Kismet gameplay statics. I'm just going to leave myself a note. But since I'm not using gameplay statics, I can take that out. And I'm going to use the other. I don't need this. And then I will do what I did earlier. Clean this up. Yes. And video is running, right? Okay. Alright, let's test that, make sure that's going to work. It is slightly slower to do it this way, but I think I'm better off keeping the memory overhead low. And if I'm wrong, I can always change it later. I want it to be a fairly lightweight game. But if you have a different opinion or you think I'm wrong in that, you're welcome to let me know. I'm happy to update my knowledge. And this works. I can change it. This works. I still cannot change it though. I also don't know why I'm put off of it. Let me jump out of that. The player should be where is it? There's the player. Player is off to the side of that. Am I in global or local? Global, let's make it local. Okay. So the player comes in at the correct angle, I think, relative to this. And that should be world. It is, but this object, I want to know the child object, so planet 3, root components way over there, collision sphere is here. Okay. And root control should be at the yeah. So I should be grabbing the collision sphere and then backing up from there. Let's take a look. So that all works. I'm happy there. Let's go into player controller, and when we dock to a planet, actually, that might be under player. Player. It's player H. I don't know why it does that. Just keep them in order. Like, I think it does whatever the most relevant thing was. Set role, set home planet. Planet list. Snap to object. I don't think I can attach to an asteroid yet. Huh. Zoom, turn, look, begin play. Snap to object. Okay. Mentally, I'm on a tangent. I'm like, do I want to tackle this now? Or do I want to solve the camera issue? But being spawned off set of the planet has been a bother. Follow object is working, I just don't like the position that I'm following at. And I don't really think it matters which follow I'm using. I was testing this one, this is what I was using previously. Let's go to snap to planet. Or snap to actor, I guess. Alright, so if we're in world view, then we're... Yeah. So if I'm in world view and I use the snap, it should take me out of world view, which it does. And then whatever the actor is, if it's a planet, then that becomes the docked planet, and I get it. Okay. Let's see. This is my note from the last time I used this. Went home. Thoughts are to try setting the player rotation to the planet's rotation for forward vector. Haven't had much luck. Rotation might work. Forward vector makes sense. It should point to the sun if that's the case. Okay, and then I get the get world, get first player controller, set player controller rotation, or set control rotation to the dock planet rotation. And then I get this actor. I set its location to the docked planet location. And dock planet. Yeah. Now the question is, when I get docked planet, am I getting the collision or am I getting the actual planet? Because the blueprint of the thing has that offset position. And I'm pretty sure I considered that, but okay, let me jump to get planet rotation, or planet location. I want to see what I'm getting. I am getting the collision sphere. So I'm getting the position of the collision sphere. I don't necessarily need the rotation. But I do need I don't need the current rotation, but I do need to know where it's looking. So wherever is player. Controller, set control rotation to dock planet. Get rotation. Okay. Does dot planet store the actor? Yeah. I guess the location of the capsule collision thing. So yeah, I think my issue was I was getting the planet's forward vector, but that's anchored at 0, and it might be offset, of that position. So I'm going to need to return the forward vector or get the rotation of. Let's do that. So these are in a planet. Yes. Did I create one that returns rotation? I don't think so. So in planet, where's planet.h? Planet.h. Okay. I actually don't know if it's going to be a vector or a rotator. If Unreal stores it as a rotator. Get planet rotation. And while I'm here, virtual f vector get planet forward vector. So this one, we'll do a quick access, create definition, and then this one. Alright, so for this, get the collision sphere, and I want to get the get actor component rotation. Right? because it's going to be the component. And then on this one, get component. I may have to get it from actor. Get actor forward. Alright, let's try doing something with it. Under player, why do things keep moving? We couldn't stop screaming. Okay. So this is, I need to get the controller, set controller rotation to get planet. I think. Oof. And this is correct for here. Set actor location, dock planet, planet location. I need to get the planet's location and then subtract the dock planet's forward vector. The docking distance. I don't know about how this is going to interfere. I kind of just want to roll with it and not set the follow, but the follow position should be whatever the planet location is, minus whatever the offset is. Alright, well, let's run it. They might conflict with each other. So I'm here, currently facing that, and if I eject, actually, I won't eject. Now I'll eject. player. That player's there. Player 1 is here. Still offset to the bottom corner. I think this is the follow that's the problem. I think follow's putting me here. I'm going to disable follow. Well, poop. If I'm in the same orbital plane, then I think I'm on the right track. Even if the planet just shifts by the time I pause it. I'm about to have a livid conniption. If I suddenly start swearing and screaming, it's because I'm married. Okay. So I'm here. Player. This player is... Why am I limited? So it didn't put me... I think I'm in the same relative orbital plane, but at the end of it. I'm not sure. Alright, I'm gonna hop off. I gotta take care of a business thing because someone may have lost money. I blame her. That's upsetting. I'm anticipating Fury. That player's here. Player 1's turn. Player 1 is here. Forward is that way. No, its forward is that way. Is that capsule actually rotating? The mesh should be rotating. I don't think the capsule is. Anyway, I'm going to take a break, sort out this financial issue. So, thank you for joining me. Have a good one.